guest for the next show. And we're live.
We are live.
Not from New York, but
Not from New
from
York.
Bossier City, Louisiana.
From Bossier City. Okay, so we should be set up for a phone call later for our guest. And hopefully some people will tune in this week. We were down a little bit in numbers, and this show's not always about the numbers of people live watching, because a lot of people watch it on the replay and over the next few days and on the podcast, which we're on most major podcast platforms, the audio version. So, it's not about the instant numbers necessarily, but we were down. But it's also summertime too.
I'm happy that we
Yeah.
have one person other than me and you talking to each other on the show. I'm
Yeah,
happy.
remember when we were really happy when we hit like 15 people, and then we were really happy when we hit 20? I mean, now we're like, well, if we're below 50, that's kind of a slow night. But you're right. We're glad that anybody watches this.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, I'm surprised that anybody would. I'm sure it's like anybody that starts a show like this. You probably are like, "What does anybody care to hear what we have to say?" I mean, I guess it's the content, and maybe we've shared a slice of good content every now and then in our shows because there are people come back to listen to hear what we have to say.
Look, I got to also admit, over the last week, I've probably had at least half a dozen people that have seen me out in, public, various places and all that, that have been very encouraging and said, hey, y'all just keep doing what you're doing. So, 5,000 followers later, for just a run-of-the-mill generic, we had never, I don't think we've ever actually paid Facebook for any advertising. This is all grown word of mouth. So,
No, we never spent any money to do that. I mean, we spent money on the software in which you did that, but as
right.
far as spending money to advertise to people to get them to come over and watch, no, we never did that.
Yeah. And speaking of advertisers, why don't we go ahead and let's go do our countdown, our intro ad to help pay the bills, and we'll come right back. And folks, y'all know what to do: tag, share, text a friend, whatever. We have Bubba Don Williams, who is, of course, a Bossier City councilman, coming to talk about Bossier City and increasing taxes or not.
Let's do it.
Sounds very intriguing. All right, here we go. Countdown begins right now. Watch live broadcast is brought to you by David B. Womack for all your contracting and construction needs. The Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 23 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting is an IWTP customized training provider with over 25 years of success to show for it. Call them for a free consultation today. Pelican Training and Consulting matches employers with 50-plus employees with training dollars. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And the many supporters, donations, and folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. You know, I've been debating about redoing that intro. And it's going to take a while because I got to go back and find video and go through old video and pull out, clips. But we've had some feedback from a couple of viewers or watchers that said leave the intro alone. So I'm torn between new intro, similar to that one, add a little bit to it. I don't know what to do. What do y'all think?
I wish we had. We need to do this one time. Hey, can't you change the call-in number? Like you can. Well, okay. Wait a minute. I know how that works. Okay. I wish we had more call-in folks from the show that called in and had a discussion with us. Remember we did that one
Just
time.
random callers?
Yeah. Remember we had a call in, and the person that called in, the first guest, was phenomenal.
Yeah,
Remember that?
I got to go back and find that show. You're right. Well, look, we can put the phone number out there because I can always change it, if spammers get a hold of it or whatever. So, I mean, it's not really a big deal.
Yeah, we should do that one show. That would be a blast. Let everybody that's watching the show call in and hey, let it rip. What do you want to talk about? It's kind of like the radio. We hear Moongraphone, open forum Friday. He puts Fridays, hey, whatever you want to talk about, call in and we'll do it to it.
Yeah, no call. Of course, we don't have the advantage of having a call screener, but this is a live show, so I hate to say it, we're not really worried about what somebody says. And if we don't, if we get some kind of spammer from India or something like that, we can always just hang up on them. Or we could have fun with the spammer from India.
Well, that would be fun. I mean, I'm certain I could sell him a security system. I have no doubt.
Yeah. See, Ashley Lee Bullock, she likes it. She says, "How fun!" So there we go.
But we could potentially get a call from someone else.
I'm Eric Gold.
Oh well, we could. We could get one from. Let's see. I guess that would be the FBI.
Yeah, or CISA. I mean, all in the same. But hey, I gotta say, I don't know if you saw this video, Rex, but I thought this was just hilarious. I about busted a gut when I seen this on Twitter, and I thought, I've got to share this.
I'm all in the mood for us getting banned off of Facebook or YouTube again. So go ahead and roll with it.
But if it happens, what I'm about to show is what you need to do. These guys are providing the answer for what you do. If you get banned on Facebook or any of those platforms or any nefarious things happen, we're fixing to give you the example of what you need to do. So here we go.
Roll with it.
Hi, I'm Eric Goldstein, Executive Assistant Director for Cybersecurity at CISA.
And I'm Brian Borndren, Assistant Director for the FBI Cyber Division.
Every day, organizations across the country are impacted by cyber intrusions, including by ransomware groups and nation states. But many, if not most of these intrusions are never reported to the federal government.
I gotta stop. Never reported to the government. Who knew? Why?
But wait a minute. First of all, let's back up. Have you ever seen any of Dollar Shave Club's ads? And there's another shaving deal, subscription deal that you subscribe to. Have you seen their videos? It's the walk through the office, and then they do cut shots and all this. This is literally what these guys are doing. All right. But fast forward to, who in here is going to reach out to the FBI for cyber stuff? Like, that would put you on their radar.
Well, I mean, if are you going to reach out to report them to them.
Good point. And not only that, the FBI can just call the NSA because the NSA, I will remind everybody, literally had an office in AT&T's building in California, basically with a direct plug-in to all of our phone calls. All of them.
This is absolutely hilarious with, the Missouri versus Biden case, which our Louisiana Attorney General's office is engrossed in. We know that this agency, these guys, the FBI and CISA, are all intertwined in censorship and invading everything. And they're supposed to be they're talking about defending you against foreign actors. They've took more action against American citizens than they have foreign actors.
Yeah, that's a good point. And look, I'll remind everybody about this, and no offense to the Cyber Innovation Center or whatever that thing's called over here in Bossier. Anybody that uses cyber to describe something, that's literally straight up from the 80s. That should tell you everything you need to know.
Well, these guys would have been better served, like you said, to have done a commercial for the Dollar Shave Club. It would be more believable than this right here. This is a waste of taxpayer dollars, without a doubt.
I wonder how many takes they had to do to get this right. How many times they have to walk them down that hall?
I don't know. Let me give you a piece more, and then you can formulate a better guess.
All right, let's finish it.
That's right, Eric. But with your help, we can support your organization in the event that you become a victim of a cyber attack.
While the challenges we face are significant, they're surmountable. Any organization impacted by a cyber intrusion should immediately report to CISA or the FBI, and will ensure information is appropriately shared between our organization.
Okay.
Yeah, I bet they are. I bet they're going to share the information, all right.
I think Catherine Engelbrecht and Greg, that reported Koenig to the FBI, I'm thinking they would disagree. I mean, because they reported the fact that Koenig, election software, was basically sending all of this information to China. And what did they do? They turned around and went after them.
But but look, here's a real simple example. It's been well documented now in the last year, basically, finally, that the Hunter Biden laptop story is absolutely real. The FBI, pick your three-letter agency, knows about it. They've got him smoking crack cocaine on video, dealing with hookers, pimping, verifiable documentation of his pimping activities, all this stuff. They've done nothing. We really expect them to do something about cyber crime? Anyway,
it's laughable. It's not even a funny joke. It's not even funny. It is a disgusting waste of taxpayer dollars.
I would tend to agree with you wholeheartedly.
Well, anyway.
All right.
So where do we go from here now that we've set ourselves up to get ripped off of social media permanently? Maybe that's the goal.
I don't know. It's very frustrating. All right, let's.
Oh, I got it. Speaking of censorship, we have folks that tell us that the DA's office censors them, and censors their social media and all their stuff. We know that the police jury, they cut off commenting. People can't, if you want to come comment, you can come to the meeting, but you can't do it on social media. Well, there's more censorship going on, except this time it's down in the legislature.
Yes, I did see that. Who was that? Jamie Marie Pope, our good friend, got herself almost, well, I don't know. I guess it's not even almost, I guess she did get in trouble in the legislature.
That's right. She did. And let me stop sharing and let me jump over to.
It was Jamie Marie Pope in the balcony with the cell phone. This is almost like a game of Clue or Clueless.
Wrong one.
Whoops.
I'm trying to get it. I got the video.
Okay. Well, if not, I can find it here somewhere. I think you shared it out on the Bossier Watch Facebook page, right?
Having a little problem. It's in the notes.
All right. Let me go find the notes real quick. Hold on just a second. There we go. Copy. And by the magic of technology, give me just a minute. And I will share my screen. Now, let me see here. Here we go. This is going to take me a minute here. Let's see. Screens. Let's click this button and this button and this button and this button. Aha! Look at there. Okay, through the magic of technology, I think this thing's about 4 or 5 minutes, right?
If you will jump to the 227 mark and a little bit of, trying to prepare folks for what you're seeing here.
Mm-hmm.
So she's up in the balcony. And if you've never been to the legislature, you have like a balcony to where everybody, the guests, can all go up to where they can look across, the house floor and they can see everything that's going on. The you see the light kind of in the background there with all the names of the legislator that posts how they vote, yes or no, and you got the Speaker of the House, the gavel working the
Right.
room, right?
Right.
So she's up there and there's hardly anybody there. Believe it or not, that happens a lot where there's nobody there. And she's just sitting up there, she's videoing. But what they're doing at this moment is they're actually changing their votes. They've already voted on a bill or some bills. And at this point, the speaker is fielding vote changes and people are submitting requests to change their vote on certain issues. And I think in this case, it was House Concurrent Resolution 114. I'm not 100% sure. Doesn't matter. But she's just videoing who is changing their votes. So like, why is that important? Well, unless you were really watching this video at this time, or you seen this, or you're watching the House video, you might not would see that they voted for something, but then changed their vote to vote against it. All you would see is that they changed vote either for or against the end result. You wouldn't see that they actually voted for it in the first place. So why would they vote for something if they didn't know?
Right.
Which way they were,
true.
Anyway.
Okay, so let me see if I can get the audio. Hold on just a second here. I'm having a little bit of a tech issue. Just a second here. All right. Let's see if that will play. All right. Let's see. Why do I have no audio in this?
All right. Well, you can probably share my screen and we may be able to get it.
All right. Let's try it that way. Hold on.
Yeah, the one that y'all taped up randomly when he got mad at me last session.
All right. So she's sitting up there, she's videoing, and then here comes the sergeant at arms in the building, and the sergeant of arms starts confronting her.
Not taking pictures or taking video. I'm live streaming. It's different. There's no signs that said I can't go live.
Okay.
It is. So I'm not able to document a public meeting. You can view where they point the camera. I can't see everything else going on in the room. Well, can you show me the statute so that I can better understand?
I can show you the rule. I can show you the rule, and I can show you the sign that says what the rule says. Okay?
Yeah, the one that y'all taped up randomly when he got mad at me last session.
I'm telling you, that's what the rule is. Until I'm told not to enforce it, I'm not going to let you give me a problem.
I'm not giving you a problem. I'm the only person up here in a balcony.
Which is a version of recording that is not allowed. If you are going to continue to do that, I'm going to ask you.
All right, let's stop it right there for a second. So I did check the Sergeant at Arms page on the legislature's website, and it does say, no photographs. Now, arguably, a video is a series of still photos with audio embedded in it. But it doesn't specifically say you can't video. But here's the stupid thing. The legislative sessions are live streamed and then put up as archive videos, correct?
They are, but I'll play the other side of this and explain what Jamie Marie was pointing out. She says that it's one angle of the camera, and that angle of the camera only has in focus the Speaker of the House and the well of the chamber or whoever comes to the mic. It doesn't have what's going on the sides and the jockeying between the legislators, which is telling in itself, of the politicking going on to get people maybe to change their votes.
Right. And I fully agree with that. So it just seems to me, because those are public meetings, correct me if I'm wrong, but anybody, as long as there's not an overflow huge crowd, can go attend those meetings, right? Can go attend the legislative sessions.
That's true. That's true. Well,
I guess there is an argument to be made that from that, and I'm just going to play devil's advocate for a second, although I agree with Jamie Marie on this, and I agree that it should be 100% open, and that there is zero room for any secrecy. It should be fully transparent. So, but I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. From her angle, potentially, now she's not really showing it, you couldn't tell from her video, but potentially it could show screens or messages between two legislators, or like you said, just conversations in there that maybe they don't want completely public. It's kind of like, I mean, and I'm not saying I agree with this. I'm just saying there is an argument to be made for that. Now, on the other side, I think it should be completely open, and there is zero reason because, unless we had the state police in there and they were talking about an active investigation or something like that, and that information didn't need to be shared in real time for some crazy reason. I'm just coming up with some hypothetical weird situation. I would argue that all of that should be public, including the interaction. So I agree with you. I'm just presenting the other side of it.
Right. Well, there is a cut with an image that the rules in which he was talking about, the rules being posted on the outside. Save my screen because we're going to finish playing this here in just a second. But what he was referring to, there's signs that they have down at the entrance of the stairs to go up into the balcony. And
last time you came, you had a letter.
And that stupid son of a gun, I can't get rid of him yet.
The police jury does not want us to talk about them tonight, Rex. Hang on.
They just don't. All right, hold on. So I'm going to share that screenshot. That's one of them, right?
Oh, those are some lawbreakers right there. Look at that right there. Evil, devious people.
Are they taking pictures?
Well, my point is, there's you see that rail right there in front of them?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. There's the posted signs. Look. Can you see that?
All right. No cell phone operation permitted. Does that apply to the legislators?
Well, wait a minute. Blow that up a little bigger.
Senate in session.
Let's not forget pagers.
And, well, God forbid anybody has a pager anymore.
You got to have the pagers. I mean, that is the most important one of all. You got to have your pagers on vibrate only.
No standing at the rail. Put cuffs on those kids.
I mean, cuff them and stuff them. They need to hook them up, them lawbreakers. I mean, order or not? Are we a law and order country or not?
Like I said, because I did search for it on the Sergeant at Arms legislative page, it does say no photographs. But I would agree with Jamie Marie. Show me the statute, the literal law that says that you can't.
Well, you're probably not. You're probably not going to find that. What you're going to find is that the House, that the Speaker of the House sets the rules of the House, or probably the Senate President and the Speaker of
So,
the House.
but let me play devil's advocate again for a minute. What is the punishment for it? What are they gonna do? Kick you out of a public meeting? Under what law? It's a
Well,
public building and a public meeting. Under what law? Unless, she got, or let's say it was me down there. Because look, the cops do this all the time, and security guards. Oh, well, you can't video that. Really? If I'm standing in a public space and it is a accepted public area, I can absolutely video it no matter what the cops say. Or security guards. And that's what the sergeant at arms is. He's a glorified rent-a-cop.
yeah,
There, I said it.
but you know what the overriding story here is that
What's that?
why is it that every aspect of our government, I mean, it doesn't matter. You pick the government body, every one of our government bodies is trying to prevent the public from being able to do this or do that, say this or say that, or they're limiting the interaction of the public more and more and more and more. And anyway, them kids standing at that rail, what harm were they causing? Yeah, I mean, I get it. If you have 100 kids, it can be
Right.
disruptive. I mean, but Jamie Marie Pope, when we go back to that video, she's literally, and I believe her when she says this because I have been there, right up there in the balcony, and I'm the only person sitting up there. I mean, and there's a lot of times she's there regularly reporting. That's what she does. That's what her job is. She probably was the only person up there.
Mhm.
And this video twists and turns a little more because ultimately this sergeant at arms ends up accusing her of being violent. Is she sitting there being violent and disruptive with that phone? What drew his
Well, she
attention to
might.
come up there?
She might be a terrorist, Duke. There's a security aspect to this. Did you not learn that in your fire and EMS training and all that? She could be sitting there videoing the inside of that building to send back to some.
It's got to be Russia. It's always Russia, so it's got to
Well,
be
yeah,
Russia.
I was going to say some Muslim terrorists, but I guess that's not politically correct now. It's got to be the Russians. She could be sending that back to the Russians or the Chinese for that matter. I mean, come on, Duke. Didn't you think of that?
Oh, I know, but that's why you've got CISA and the FBI. I mean, you saw, we showed them. We showed them. The haircut for men or whatever guy. All you got to do is call him. He's got it.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Well,
So how did this end up? Did she go to jail?
I think she got cuffed and stuff, but hang on a second. Let's let this finish going here.
Okay.
Okay, well, can you show me where it's written so that I can understand? You just said that you would show me. I'm asking, will you show me where it's written? Okay, so can you tell me where to find it, where it's written, so that I can understand better? Because it was fine for me to have my camera, then it wasn't fine for me to have my camera. Then it was, oh, you need to get a media badge, so I did. And then it was, but so, well, I'm just trying to explain to you. So then I got my media badge. So I got my media badge, then that was an issue. And then I was cleared to use a camera up here. And I'm asking you, where can I find those rules written so that I can look at them and understand?
She should have asked him to remove her and then file assault charges.
Oh, he gets
So they're
there.
not written anywhere, just whatever the whim. Okay, and I'm asking you where I can find them so that I can understand better, so that I can look at them and know what the rules actually are. So there's no link anywhere. There's nowhere to find them. I didn't say that you did. I'm asking, can you point me in the right direction? Okay, so you can't tell me where the rules are. They're just however someone feels at that time on that day, that's just the rule. So if I wear a red shirt up here and y'all decide, well, we don't like the color red, then that's not allowed anymore?
Don't try to use logic with him.
Okay, then yeah, I would like to talk to whoever, because if y'all can't show me the actual rules. Okay, well, where do I need to go?
Look at all the people.
Walk right down to the podium.
You just told me to, okay, so sit right here and wait for her? Okay. Well, I didn't either, but you just told me to stay where she can find me. Do you see me walking behind you? I'm following you. That's fine too. Oh, seriously? You think I would push you down the stairs? That's the absolutely most asinine thing. When have I ever even acted like a threat? Okay, I'm violent because I want to be able to use a camera in a public building. You know you are full of crap right now.
That's hilarious.
And I will, but don't sit here and act like I'm threatening you.
I'd have just reversed it, said, hey, I'm not sure what you're going to do behind me, so you go first.
It's not possible to ask to see the rules so that I can obey them. And I'm following you.
Now you're following.
In front of you
Now
so
you are.
Follow.
Now you are.
You are so full of crap right now. You're acting like this is a violent situation because I asked to see the rules so that I can follow them. And that's why this needs to be recorded. That's why I need recording. That's great.
Okay, this thing drones on for quite a while, but it's interesting that violence pops up in this dialogue here, and there's another link in the notes, Rex, that we need to pull up. It'll be the next one after the check. I mean, I get Jamie Marie, and she was trying to make a point. I mean, she's media, and they were changing votes, and that is a uncomfortable thing down there when they go to trying to change votes, because they don't want the public to know that they're changing votes or having to change votes, or that they voted one way or the other or whatever. They don't want folks knowing that.
Well, but that's silly, because literally as soon as they cast their vote, we know it.
Yeah,
I mean, I understand your point. I get what you're saying, and you're absolutely right. But I'm just saying, on principle, that's about as stupid as it gets.
It is about as stupid as it gets. And I see that is not pulling up straight. And the interesting thing, and this
give me a second here.
This raised another question. That sergeant at arms, as it would turn out, happened to be he's described in this article, an article by the Advocate in June 4th of 2014, as being a deputy, has a history of violence. In fact, he was put on leave from the department down there by a domestic violence complaint from his wife, where he had put his hands on her throat and tried to choke her.
No wonder he wanted to be behind Jamie Marie. See?
I don't know, but something tells me he would have had experience on the violence issue. He probably knows that well, probably better than the rules of the House and the Senate. But that said, it raised another question. How does an individual with that history get to be a sergeant of arms, in the legislature?
Well, look, in his defense, maybe he was found innocent. I mean, it says he was arrested, but does it say he was prosecuted and found guilty for anything?
Don't know on that one. And admittedly,
that's that whole thing of
I
supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, but as we all know in America, you're guilty and have to prove your innocence.
I agree. And all we have said is that his wife went and filed a complaint. And this article here says, from the Advocate has a history of being a reputable,
it does.
press organization. They're part of the press club. I mean, it says in there clearly that she went and filed, the paperwork and described what it was. How it panned out in the court system, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, well, we'd have to follow up with that. The couple had been shouting at one another when Lewis started choking his wife. He was still in uniform. Chief said it wasn't the first time officers had to respond to a domestic disturbance involving the couple. Well, that's interesting. Anyway, okay. So, I got to know, though, because I didn't watch the whole video. Did she get cuffs thrown on her? Or did she go to jail?
No, I watched it to the end, and I was really wanting to see that fight, but it never happened. She didn't do it.
Well, my money be on Jamie Marie. She'd probably pull out a can of whoop ass.
Yeah, I think she could handle herself well, no
Yeah.
doubt.
All right. So, being censored in Baton Rouge. I mean, part of me wants to say that's absolutely censorship. The other part of me says, well, they do live stream it, But you're right. They only show what they want to show. So,
So
Ruth Pope Johnston says maybe the wife was live streaming. It obviously triggers him. Maybe so.
And we haven't called out everyone that's watching the show tonight and said, "Hey, I see Val Baker. He's been on,
Oh,
since
well,
the
look.
beginning."
Hold on just a second. Hello. Can you hear us?
I can.
All right. Let me switch screens over here. And sounds like we have a guest. I hope it's Bubba. I hope it's not some spammer from India.
I'm up here in the balcony right now.
In the balcony right now. That's it. No videoing, no recording. We're going to send, our sergeant at arms up there to get you.
Well, did you need any sergeant of arms today, Bubba, at the council meeting? I didn't even get a chance to watch it hardly.
It wouldn't be the first time they was after me.
Right?
Well, we could have had a Zamboni come through there, but anyway.
Well, so Bubba Don, I called you and gave you a shout out to see if you were available to come on the show tonight because, during the week, I started getting a few emails and messages, and folks were saying, "Oh, they're fixing to raise taxes on us in Bossier, and we need to pay attention." Well, is that accurate or is that inaccurate?
Well, dude, what you got calls today, because Vince got a lot of them. I didn't get none. That's inaccurate. Today on our agenda was just every year we have to do this administrative function. We just have to verify the millage we're collecting and the amount of money, the same as it was the last couple of years. And that's all that was.
So the millage isn't increasing, or I guess in the reverse, decreasing. It's staying the same. It's not like a roll forward situation or anything.
Yes, the property tax is staying the same. Now, I'll be honest with you, and I think I don't know if I talked to you, Duke, anyway. We have been having, about 3 months ago, probably 2.5 months ago, Mr. Darby formed some committees with some council members on it. There's a couple of things we got to do, and if you give me a couple minutes, I'll tell you the first one. Just be quick, and then we talk about the police one. Our council on aging building. I don't know if y'all been down there. It's falling down or about to fall down, and it's a very old building. I know because I went swimming in Bossier Pool when I was a kid, and you had to go through there, and that was about probably 50 years ago, over 50 years ago. So we know how old it is. It leaks. The bathroom's not upgraded, and we got some people in wheelchairs there. So our first task was to find some land, find some money to build a new council on aging building. And we've been digging into that too, and we made a little progress. We've had the ladies from the council on aging come to our meetings every month. Looked into some shelters that people feeding the homeless. They're coming in and enlightening us on things we didn't know. We got the police and fire there because that's basically what it was for. And like I said, a couple council members. And the biggest thing on the police and fire, Duke, we talked briefly about it, was, we're losing people. And of course, pay is the biggest thing. And, it's slow to make rank in the police force. So we're trying to find, we're digging into the budget more. We're trying to find ways to give not only police and fire raises, eventually we want to give all the city employees a raise. But we're looking at maybe sign-on bonuses, just different things we can attract people. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think between the fire and the police, we had like 30 guys, that retired any time on the drop program. And we can't afford to lose 30 guys. So today, like I said, you didn't watch it. We allocated $250,000 to the police and the fire, and so they could do what they wanted to. I know Chief Haugen was going to hire a couple guys. Brad's got I think he's got 4 guys. He said on the drop program, they'll be retiring for the end of the year. So he's going to do some different things, and we let it up to them. Next year in the budget, we got $500,000 for each one of them allocated. Just to get started. Like I said, this is still we're in the early stages of talking about all this, and we're trying to find some money that we can help the police and fire, and like I said, all the other city employees also.
We all I mean, like you were saying, I think it is that you've got a lot of attrition, that's about to take place within, both departments. And, with that attrition, you found yourself in a position to where maybe we're not as competitive with other municipalities, across the country and across the state. And, I think what you're saying is it's kind of growing pains, and as well, I think as a city and government in general, you're having to find yourself in a position that you've got to transition a little bit and maybe look at the whole picture a little differently than you have in the past. Money's a different animal today than what it was even 20 years ago. And so y'all been at it. I think y'all been at it a couple of months now, trying to look at a couple of different ideas, and you're still working on it, is what I'm understanding you're saying.
Yeah, like I said, the fire chief, police chief, and a couple of different people from the departments have been there. We've even had the amazing Matt Lauterbach with some of his guys there on his shift there, and it's just giving us ideas, trying to help us solve the problem, which is good to have a union leader there. And, like I said, we're still working on it, but it's something that we're working towards. Hopefully we get this thing figured out, and hopefully by the end of the year, come budget time, we can do what we have planned to do.
Well, Bubba Don, let me ask you a question. So if I remember right, but my numbers may be a little off, at one point in time, y'all had something like, was it a dozen or maybe more police positions open that you haven't been able to fill? Number one, am I correct or close to correct in that? But number two, is it strictly a money issue, and what does it actually take, the city council to do? Have to pass an ordinance, or what do you guys have to do to be able to pay the police more money in those entry-level positions to attract them?
Well, as far as being short, right now the police is short 10, and he does have some in the academy, and the fire department is short 7. There's some bonds we just recently paid off. We're going to try to reallocate that to the police and fire, and like I said, going up next year from the $250,000 this year to $500,000 for each department. What Brad talked to us today, what he's going to do with his is, the ambulance guys, man, they run, as Duke can tell you, they run all day and all night. He's going to bump them up $50 a shift or $50 a month for, riding on the ambulance. And just things that they can come up with too. So that helps us out. And that's, that makes them a little happier to get a little bit more money.
Well,
Yeah.
I hadn't checked, but, and maybe y'all talked about it at the meeting. To be honest, I haven't watched the meeting today. But how competitive is Bossier City, as far as the police department's concerned, with other municipalities of similar size? How competitive is Bossier City in pay? Do we have any idea?
I saw something last month. I want to say it was last month. It could have been a couple months ago, but we were near the bottom. So that's our problem. There was one guy that used to work for the police department was there. I think it was last month he was there, and he spoke. I mean, we have people coming in that again, people that we don't know that used to work there that's trying to help us too. He said basically he left because of the pay. And it's very slow to make rank. So that's just, that's our pains right now. And we can find the money. We're going to do that. It's just, like I said, it takes time because we got other things we got to do also. But the police and fire right now are our number one priority, of course.
Well,
Well, I,
go ahead, Duke.
well, I was going to say I like to recall the days of George DeMint saying, Bossier City is a crown, and we have jewels in the crown, and he described, the police and fire department as jewels in the crown. And I can tell you, as an employee, I appreciated, that description because, when I became a fireman. I mean, Bubba, you remember you were there, and I say that jokingly, but you know, when you took the job. You was like, I'm not going to make a lot of money at this. It ain't about the money or whatever, but I'm going to have a good retirement, and I'm going to have an honest career, and that was the case. Nowadays, it doesn't seem to be that way anymore. It seems to be that I don't know. People can't necessarily count on the retirement. I mean, I know the city has a high contribution rate to the retirement. That's been something that's kind of nagged municipalities across the state is the pension systems and of course other expenses as well. And I understand that, someone, said or made a recommendation about taking monies from one account and using it to fund what you needed to get the police and fire department around. I know y'all are looking, but is there any flexibility in any of the other you know pools or pots of money that can get us by until maybe we get some relief from these uh, you know bonds and debts that we have?
Yeah, like I said, we met with Angela. I don't know, maybe it was last week. Our finance director, and of course she's helping a lot too. There's some money that we can move around. Like I said, some bonds we paid off. We can move that over there. And I'm gonna be honest with you. We talked briefly. There's a 0.21 mils that we can, as a city council, that's been voted on. We could have, raised that money, but it's only like $146,000, and that wasn't really enough to probably to deal with the people that's going to be mad. Because our taxes are up our property taxes are up for renewal next year, and we don't want to piss nobody off. We need those to give our citizens a raise for sure.
Well, the cynic in me would say, and you don't have to comment on this, by the way, but the cynic in me would say, well, maybe we need less statues and more towards the police. But that's just me being cynical, and you don't have to comment on that if you don't want to.
But dude, I'm like you, dude. We went in. You went in the fire department or the police department, and I went in the military, and we knew we weren't gonna make money. But again, when you retire and you make that, it's okay retirement for the rest of your life. It's pretty good. You just have to get over that 20 years of trying to make rank with your police, fire, or the service. And once you get
Yeah.
over that, hopefully you get out and do good.
Yeah, I appreciate the career that I had. I mean, I loved working for Bossier City. I mean, like I said, I was born there, raised there, and lived there all my life. I'm going to die here, and it shaped me into the person I am today. So it's arguably y'all's fault for why I'm doing this show. That's a joke, but
Don't blame
you
me.
right. But the bottom line on why we asked you to come on, folks were kind of under this impression, and look, it's a political game and whisper campaigns and things like that. But this is not a tax increase. This is simply, y'all's duty to you have to put this thing forward. You have to talk about the millage rates, and you're not raising or lowering. It's the status quo. Ain't nothing changing. That's the case, right?
Exactly. Nothing is changing. It's it's responsibility. You got to do it here.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on and taking a few minutes to discuss that and kind of clear the air. Is there anything else you want everybody to know, or anything coming up, or at any of the future
Well,
meetings?
yeah, we tend to meet. We had Mr. Crockett like talk a couple times today, and John Settles back there kind of holding back from getting up talking again. But other than that, man, come to the meetings and ask questions. We'll be glad to answer them for you.
I agree with that 100%. Come to the or go to the meetings, folks.
But you know what, Bubba, you've been down there a long time. Hadn't that always been the problem? I mean, you guys, I mean, you're elected to go down there and work on behalf of the people, and a lot of times you're just having to go with your gut on where the public actually wants you to go, and the reason is because you don't hear from them. Is that not the case?
Well, yeah, basically it is, Duke. I mean, I hear from people. I hear from more people down in South Bossier, Shady Grove, and Bel Air area. Just needing the little things, a road repair or whatever. And people down in where I grew up at, born and raised here in Central Park, they could just come to my house, sit on the patio. We talk about it, get things done right there. But and hey, I get good help from Rauschenbach and Clinton in the engineering. I've got oak trees that's growing up over the curbs and streets, and the sidewalks are all lopsided, and so we're fixing to fix some of those. But it's, and I don't say I get anything more than anybody else do, but it's good when you call down there and try to get something done. At least they come out and look at it, But yeah, again, back to the meetings, come to them. If you got a question, man, call somebody.
Well, it's kind of like our shows. There are certain things that we can talk about, and everybody, we'll have 200 people packed in there. It's kind of the same thing at the meetings. If certain things are coming up for discussion, everybody's in there. But, normal meetings, like when y'all talk about tax millages or hiring more police or being able to afford them, is pretty much crickets. So it's kind of the same thing for us.
It's like the first meeting of our term, it was packed and people standing up around the walls, but, every time somebody got up and spoke, I'm going to come to every meeting. Well, it's been 2 years. I haven't seen you yet, so I want people to come because I want them to talk and ask questions and see what else we can do for them.
Well, as far as we're concerned, the more people that attend the meetings and ask questions, the more sound bites we have to talk about on the show. So it's works both ways. It's good for us too.
Hey,
exactly.
Hey, Bubba, we got a question from somebody watching the show that Thomas Shea asked, when are the lights going up on Barksdale Boulevard since they've already something the base and electrical?
Now, those lights down there, they've got them lights, had them poles on order. They've got the base set down there. You're talking about 71 South. They've had the base set, golly, for 4 or 5 months. They're waiting on the poles to come in. Everything is hard to get right now. But as soon as they get them in, they're ready to go. Believe me, they'll get them up quick.
So that's
one thing. I met with I forgot who it was. Met with DOTD because we had if you remember, Duke, young lady crossing down by Foodtown, crossing highway, got struck and and she was killed. Well, we got with SWEPCO, and we're getting some lights put up down there across the street from Foodtown. Well, come to find out, DOTD, they put it somewhere, the work order, and forgot all about it. So we had, I think Clinton with engineering called over and talked to them, and they found it. So now they're going to get on it again. Things like that,
wow.
Just it's amazing things like that happen.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, again, Bubba Don, we appreciate you coming on and talking about that briefly. And, in the future, I hope you come back on the show and we'll talk a little bit more in depth. We certainly, as you know, could throw in our 2 cents on a couple of issues, but that's what we wanted to get tonight was that, look, there's not any, taxes being raised. That's an inaccurate rumor, and we wanted to make sure that everybody understood that clearly.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, Duke. I appreciate you let me say that there. It was just a administrative thing we do every year. We have to, and the taxes are not being raised.
Well, that's good enough. We'll keep on keeping an eye on you guys to make sure.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bubba.
All right, Duke. Y'all be good.
Okay, bye bye.
All right, so there you have it.
Yeah. Well, glad that we were able to answer that question.
I got
or get it
several-
answered. Let me rephrase that.
I got several calls. People were saying, "Hey, they're down there plotting and scheming to raise taxes. They're going to raise taxes. They're going to raise." And I called Bubba, and he's like, "Do what?" He's like, "No." He's like, "We're not doing that."
Well, every time this comes up, any millage renewal, whether it's for the city or whether it's for the parish or whoever, it doesn't matter. There's always the argument made that, well, yeah, but that millage was added on, and so by renewing the millage, it is a new tax, because if we didn't renew it, it would fall off, and then they would have to, do a new ordinance and put it on the ballot and blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's that argument to be made. But the fact of the matter is, it's been there for however many years. I'm not really sure. And I assume it's been renewed maybe at least once in the past. I don't know without going back to look at it. So I don't know.
Well,
I'm like this. Well, look, I'm too lazy to ride a horse. I like to have paved roads and arguably good lighting on the roads too. So I don't mind paying taxes for things where I can see progress being made. Let me put it that way. I like driving around my truck with air conditioning, pulling my bass boat.
Right. Well, look, there is an expectation of folks of what they get out of government, and when it comes to, public safety, I mean, they expect, their city to provide them with police to ensure that safety, and they expect to have, in Bossier City at least, a fire service that can fight fire and hopefully, save and protect their property and effect rescues as needed. Those things, and to be able to do that, it costs money. Nobody in Bossier City has an issue with that, and they're going to support that every day of the week. But at the same time, it has to be reasonable, and it's the obligation of, the police department and the fire department to be good stewards of that money and not to ever abuse that support from the public. You've got to always not take that for granted. And, you know, I think Bossier City, unlike now, you recall the Halton, we were kind of out there opposing that, but there's a little bit of a difference. Bossier City has it refined down to an art in their budget on their public safety. They're to the point they know that they're short this much manpower or they're over this much manpower to provide this service or that service. Their problem, and we didn't really push Bubba on it or go into a whole lot more detail, is where they've spent money historically over a long period of time that's got them to the point to where they're having to shuffle money to maintain now. And that arguably comes from the debt service that they have on all of the expenditures that they've had over the last, I would argue, 10, 15 years or whatever. I mean, I think the number, I can't remember correctly, might be to the tune of, and I think this is what David Crockett was talking about. They have a debt service of like $32 million a year. Well,
yeah, that's a lot of money that could go to other things.
Right. And so, I think in the short term of about 10 years, it'll be 10 to 12 years is when they will see some of that debt, the large portion of that debt will fall off and be paid off to where you would have a large, substantial amount of money that would be available to fund this. But I mean, that might be one of the only criticisms I have, but do they have reserves that they could pull from right now? And that's what he was talking about. They have options. They have places that they can pull money from. And Thomas Shea, boy, hitting the home run in there. Does that include the Tahoe gift from the fire department?
Very interesting question. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can get.
Well, Thomas Shea, I would contend, I've been retired for a while from the fire department, but why do we have 3 medical directors? And to my understanding, why do the 3 medical directors all have salaries, and why do they all have Tahoes or have vehicles?
Yeah.
I don't know that that is a good deal. Now, granted, the call volume now today may have increased such that it demands to have 3 medical directors, but back in the day, we didn't have 1. The medical director was the ER doctor at Bossier Medical Center back in the day. I mean,
Well,
and
I would ask a simple question, and I really don't know the answer to this, but how much has the population of Bossier City increased since that time? Has it tripled? And
I don't know.
were y'all short staffed back then as far as a medical director?
Oh, well, as far as a medical director, no, we used the ER doctors at Bossier Medical Center, but the city of Bossier owned the Bossier City Medical Center. But I mean, Shreveport, I think their doctors were rotated between LSU and Willis Knight, and I can't remember exactly their structure, but I mean, you've got 3 medical directors, as my understanding, that are paid directly just simply to be. That wasn't the way it was historically in Bossier City. But for some reason, now it is. And
Now it is. Our good friend and former amigo of the 3 amigos says, good to hear, Shane Cheatham says, good to hear that they are adding more money to the budget for public safety. We need more officers on the streets to keep crime out of the city. And look, I would argue that most people in Bossier and most people outside of Bossier have the relative feeling of safety in Bossier City. I can tell you from raising 3 teenage boys that, let's just say, there are a lot of things that happen in Shreveport that won't come across the bridge because they fear the Bossier PD. Let's put it that way. And I would argue that that's a good thing. Now, Bossier's got its crime. As a matter of fact, most people be shocked to know this, but if you look at the crime stats, in some ways Bossier is less safe by the numbers than Shreveport is. It's just Shreveport's murder rate per capita is, I guess on par with Detroit and Chicago and wherever else, and we don't have that over here in Bossier City. And so that's always a good thing because the Bossier City cops are pretty much on the ball, and the fire department is first class. So, I'm all in support of paying our police personnel and fire guys and EMTs and all that more money if we can do it.
well, I mean, if I was in government, and this is why probably I'm not in government, I would be thinking more along the lines of, let's say, like I think Bubba said that we ranked, what did he say? We were at the bottom,
Right?
when we looked
Yeah.
at the numbers or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would think a good idea would be to peg the salaries of the police department and the fire department at the Southern average. And if you pegged it at the Southern average, then as a government, you would be able to budget appropriately. I
Yeah.
mean, you
Yeah. Good
you would
point.
be able to budget better, and you wouldn't have these surprises in manpower and overturn. Maybe you would have a more stable workforce. We've been fortunate, I think in Bossier over the years that we have a lot of uh, you know, folks that are loyal to Bossier, that are Bossier people, that family that just keeps coming in and coming out, but as we're growing and we're getting bigger, I guess that's not the case. And especially when it comes to the police department, the job's tougher. I mean, you almost have to be a lawyer to be able to be it, but then at the same time, you got to be able to be willing to risk your life for basically nothing. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of people aren't going to step up to the plate and do that.
Well,
And
that's true. And there's always the argument everybody knows what it is going in. You know, like you said earlier, you didn't really go into it for the money. You went into it for the retirement, at least on the fire side. And I would argue, it's probably the same thing for the cops out there. They're not going into it for the money. I mean, both fire and police officers have opportunities to make extra money, with second jobs and different things that they do and all that, of course, but they're not going into it as their, primary source of being able to get rich being a police officer or fireman. That doesn't really go hand in hand.
no, it doesn't. But I got to tell you, when you put that pistol on your hip and you put that vest on and you go out there in a patrol car, it's real.
Right.
It's real at that point. And when you compare that against what you're being paid to do it, you gotta love doing it because the
Right.
money is not worth taking the risk, and it's not worth doing that. It takes a special kind of person to do it. And a hat tip from me to all of them that do it, because folks don't want to see them, but when you're in a bind,
When you need
by
them,
God,
you need them.
you want to see them.
And you want them there right then. Why couldn't they be there sooner? So speaking of that, that's a good
Last time
segue.
you came, you had a
Dadgummit.
letter.
I've got to get rid of
You
Patrick Jackson. It's the ghost of
you are
Patrick Jackson.
you are obsessed with Patrick Jackson.
I've got to get rid of this scene. He's stuck on here. I can't get rid of him. Okay, so segueing over, speaking of officers putting their lives literally on the line, we got a couple of things coming up. One, on the right side of the screen, you can see that there is a benefit tournament for Officer Kenny. Is it Gallon or Gallion? Not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, I thought it was Gallion, but
I thought so.
it looks like Gallon. No, no
Yeah.
offense, Kenny,
No
but
offense. Yeah, either way. So, but there's a benefit tournament. There have been several events to fundraise for him. Of course, he was the Bossier City police officer that was involved in the Valero shootout, I'm calling it, and literally risking his life as well as the other officers that responded to help those in need. I think there were wasn't it 3 people murdered, 2 or 3 people? I can't remember correctly.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So that was unfortunate. But anyway, there's a benefit fishing tournament. It's being, as a matter of fact, put on or hosted by a couple of firefighters. And so that's always a good thing.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing that's always happened. The firemen and policemen always kind of stand up for each other and help, pull up their boots. In which the fire department stepped up a little early on this one, and maybe I could elaborate. I will tell you, I have tried to get the Fraternal Order of Police representative on our show to talk about, this subject or whatever. But uh, every time I ask him, he tells me he hasn't gotten permission from the chief. So, as you may have noticed today, Rex, I sent a formal request to the mayor's office and to the police chief of Bossier requesting an interview. And this is one of the subjects that I wanted to talk about. I guess because they know that we've been critical of Bossier City and Bossier City government in the past, maybe they don't want to talk to us. But, the question that I wanted to ask, and I wanted, the chief to explain, I mean, or the head of the FOP is, why should we be having, because a lot of people don't know, why should we have a fundraiser for a BCPD officer that was shot? You know, Maybe it's because his salary doesn't pay enough to cover the bills for him and his family. And maybe as a result of being shot, he can't work his second job, that it takes to pay the freaking bills. How hard of a question is that to ask? But I'm taking away
Well,
from the subject, but I'm a little peeved right now on this subject.
asking the question's not the problem. It's answering it. Well, it's easy to
Yeah.
ask, difficult for them to answer. So anyway, if you bass fish at all, they're having a tournament. It's this, what would it be, Saturday, June the 10th. It's at Caddo Lake. Earl G. Williamson Park is where they're going to have the weigh-in. The entry fees are $150 per boat. You can have up to 3 anglers per boat, so that's interesting. Usually it's just, a team deal, 2 people, but they're allowing 3 people. 5 fish limit, first cast 6:15, last cast 3 p.m. Got to be in the weigh-in line by 4 p.m. It is a trailering event, so that means that you can, as long as your entry fee is already paid and you're registered, which you can do online beforehand, I think up until Friday, as long as you're registered or whatever, or you go by Earl G early Saturday morning for registration, you can trailer, put in anywhere. You just got to come to, back to Earl G for the weigh-in. Anyway, and so there's the guaranteed prizes. We'll make sure, I think I've already shared that out once on Bossier Watch. We'll make sure and share it out again. And it is being put on by Peyton Grantham, who was a former high school league angler. His dad is Rusty Grantham, who is a firefighter also. Anyway, and Randy Hicks, they're helping put this on, and so it is a benefit deal. Also want to point out, and you just made me aware of this, Duke, that there is a fish fry fundraiser for the shooting victims of the Bossier City Valero shootout. And it's going to be this Friday, June the 9th, at the Peterbilt place over on Industrial Drive here in Bossier. It's $10 per plate, or there's a bit.ly link. You can go there and just donate. And I imagine probably for the tournament, if you just want to donate some money, reach out to Randy or reach out to Peyton, and you can probably just donate even if you're not able to fish. So we want to try to help out Officer Kenny for putting his life on the line and his family and what they're having to, the turmoil they're having to go through. And also we want to help raise some funds if we can for the families of the victims of the shootout as well.
Yeah, I mean, hat tip to Peterbilt off of Industrial Drive. I mean, hey, I wish you guys were a little more responsive to parts when I come in there, like maybe, lower the bill a little bit. But hey, hat tip to Peterbilt out there. Good job, guys.
No kidding. And my mother says hi, so hi, Mom. Okay. Scott Smith says, but that wouldn't help with whatever side job he had that he's not able to do right now. Yeah, that's correct, Scott. So, all right. Anything else, Mr. Lowry? Anything we need to discuss this week?
Well, I did want to point out, did you see that there was not a Supreme Court, but a Third Circuit Court, Federal Third Circuit Court of Appeals ruling today regarding concealed firearms or felons and or being able to boy, I'm butchering this.
I was going to say, now I'm confused. Felons and concealed firearms, which you're not supposed to mix anyway.
Well, I am jumping between notes and I am all over the place. Anyway, I've got it in the file folder, and I really haven't had time to completely review it because it didn't come out until this afternoon. But it was a
Range v. Garland opinion.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's see. Give me a second here.
Whoops,
I lost you. Oh, you're still there, audio wise.
Yeah, this appeals court ruled, about a felon and being in possession, and the argument was that they were still a part, or the person was still, even though they were a felon, was still a part of the people of the United States that's protected by the Second Amendment. And they all agreed that, even though you were a convicted felon, and if you paid your debt to society, you were still, quote, of the people.
Well, look, here's my stance on that. I agree completely. Now, you can make the argument, well, a violent felon, blah, blah, blah. And I get that argument. But in that case, I would just say, well, you need to make the penalty increased or whatever it is. I'm not, you know me, I'm strict on the Second Amendment. And I believe that if you are a felon and you have paid your debt to society, whatever the judge and jury ruled, at the conclusion of that, or the fulfillment of that debt, your voting rights should be restored, and your restrictions from firearms should be removed.
Now, you want me to pour a little hot sauce on this open wound? Do you know what this individual in this case was convicted of?
I have no idea. I hadn't even read it yet.
Making a false statement to obtain food stamps. He lost his gun rights over making a false statement to obtain food stamps. This was in Pennsylvania.
Let me go take my blood pressure medicine again. Look, I'm not advocating for lying to get food stamps. You never know somebody's situation. Maybe they were down and destitute. Maybe not. Maybe they were trying to scam the food stamp program. I don't know. But losing your gun rights, having them removed or restricted over making a I guess making a false statement to the FBI or to the cops would be a felony too. I don't know. I guess it depends on the state, but that's just grates on my nerves. Let's be nice and leave it at that.
Well, and a good friend just messaged me reminding me about Danny McCormick's bill today. He
Oh
had
yes,
to,
constitutional carry.
yeah. Well, it kind of passed through everywhere, but it got sent to one of, maybe it was the finance committee. I'm not sure, but he had to defer it, and reason being because it was going to cause a shortfall in money, and so it's going to
All
have
right, so
it's
let
going to
me
have to
be
come back again next year.
let me be clear. I'm going to get you. Now you got me fired
Go
up.
ahead, go
So
ahead. All right, it's my turn to twist your bolts.
I I wholeheartedly agree with Danny McCormick's attempts to do this because he's done it, on multiple occasions. I want to be clear that constitutional carry is not his efforts are not an attempt to give us the ability to carry concealed. It's to remove the damn restrictions on our legal right to carry anyway. It was legal up until they passed laws to restrict our damn rights. And I would argue also that our good friend, the sheriff, the Louisiana Sheriff's Association has fought this for years. Now, I think they've changed their position and softened their position since, our good friend, Mr. Whittington, has been a part of that association and all that. So I'm not going to throw him under the bus too much. But they fought it in several years ago. It's just stupid. More than half the country, as far as states, now have constitutional carry. I would remind everybody that those states have simply removed the damn restrictions that were put in place to keep you from carrying your weapons. Ugh, it's just aggravating. And look, like I said, I appreciate Danny's efforts at the bill. I had no faith in it anyway, really, because that means that the governor said he's going to veto it, so our legislators would have to have the kahunas to actually override a veto, and we know they're not going to do that, so it's all for naught again. Okay.
Well, I'm certain Danny McCormick will bring it back next year, and they've. I would suspect that they're finally on the last leg, and then of preventing him from being able to get this through. And in Danny's words, his bill was to bring recognition of the Second Amendment back to Louisiana. That was how he described it.
Now, I agree with him 1,000%. It's just stupid. To have to do it, I mean, in principle, is stupid. So I'll just leave it at that. Let's see. Our good friend Chris K says, remember, if you are an honorably discharged or retired veteran, you can conceal carry in Louisiana. If you get the veteran designation on your driver's license, have a DD 214 in possession, or your retired ID card. Yeah, you're right. That's great, and thanks for reminding everybody, Chris, that our honorably discharged or retired veterans who could carry weapons, at least some, at some point in the military, only have to jump through a couple of hoops of fire to be able to exercise their lawful rights in Louisiana. But I appreciate you reminding us, Chris. Mother may I to the state.
That's right. That's right. Well, or you can just, FBI or CISA right there.
Yeah.
If you know about any Russians, let them know. They'll handle up on it for you.
Yeah. All right. You got anything else this evening, Mr. Lowry?
I'm done. I do have another announcement, but I tell you what, I think I'm going to hold off on that because I really would like to get David Crockett on the show. I really would like to get him on the show, and but we'll do that another time. Okay. Hey, next week I got a guest ginned up that may be going to come on. Tentatively, we're on track for it, but remember that guest I told you about that was going to get us maybe kicked off of social media?
I've just got us relatively stable on social media, and there you go, trying to get us kicked off again. But yes, I do remember.
I'm doing my best. I'm trying hard to make it happen. But hey, I think we're going to finally have him lined up, and we're going to have a presentation, and he's going to make it. And you guys are going to get educated on the deep state, election integrity, and those guys that were telling you to call them if you see something nefarious. Call them, CISA and FBI.
Well,
I think he's going to say otherwise.
I will say that I've watched, and I'm not going to name him. He is a very interesting guy, and I've watched some of the videos that he does have online. So I've got some interesting questions.
I think it's going to be a good show, and we are working as well on some debates between now and the election time, because that is that is fast approaching, and you folks have got a lot of decisions to make.
Lots of them. All right. And first decision is to join us next week again, same time, same place, 7 p.m. Tuesday nights. We try to get a little notice, at least the day before if we can, but sometimes, honestly, we don't know the topics till the day of, so that's why they're, sometimes mid-morning or noonish of the day of. So I try to get them before. But anyway, so if we confirm our guest, we get him lined out, we'll put up a notice as soon as we can to give everybody plenty of time. And we appreciate Julie Ferris with Pelican Training. We also do appreciate David Womack for helping us out and covering the cost, because this is not free. If you want to help or donate, go to bossierwatch.org. There's a place on there you can donate or buy a coffee mug or something like that. Nobody's bought any coffee mugs lately. We need to sell a coffee mug or two.
Hey, and one little thing I just want to tell everybody. So you've got a big battle going on down in the legislature right now, and a lot of you may have heard, you may have not heard, and I'm going to go on and give you all a shout out and give you a little bit of a direction. So we've got a lot of surplus money down there, right? A lot of it, and there's two sides to this thing. One, you spend all the money right now on stupid stuff. You spend the money on stuff that, basically on a new ball cap or a new t-shirt, right? Or you spend the money on paying off some debt, and you enable the state to be able to have, over a longer period of time, a more stable budget for years and years and years and years and years to come. Well, the Senate basically, and we're going to need to get one of our senators on the show to talk about that. But the Senate basically wanted to spend all the money now. So for all these little towns and all these people to do all these little small things, and then you've got the House that's saying, hey, let's be responsible here. Let's pay off some debt, and let's make the state sound going into the future. If you guys think that, your state ought to, be more proactive and try to pay off some debt and make us better off going into the future, you need to call your representatives right now, and you need to tell them not to bust the cap. Don't bust the spending cap, because we've got an agreed upon in the legislature. We've got an agreed upon cap of what we're going to spend per year, and to bust the cap means we're going to spend everything that we got now, and that's what a lot of them are trying to do. And I think we need to pay off our debt, pay off our bills, and try to get ahead. I'm just making a recommendation.
Very good point. Reach out to your legislators, people. Pass the word. All right. Anything else? That was kind of a deep point right there at the end.
Well, it snuck up on me, and I felt I needed to say something. We probably should have said more and dug a little more into it, because there's some heavy decisions being made right now in the state, and
some expensive decisions.
Expensive, yeah. And we were talking about earlier, saying, like with Bubba Don, about people not coming to the meetings, saying what they think. I mean, it's just like this. You need to call your legislators, and you need to tell them what you think. Buy you a ball cap today, or spend money to save you in the future a lot, over a long period of time. I mean, we all know, look, you put a little bit of money back, you don't spend it, it's going to pay off dividends for you in the long run. Why don't we do the responsible thing these days, guys?
Yes. Why don't we? That's a good question. All
Oh,
right.
Chris K says snuck up on you like you snuck up on that owl, Duke. Hey,
Hey,
that-
hey, be careful. There might be a law against handling a raptor.
what?
Yeah.
I
You
was
gotta watch
defending.
out.
I was defending my chickens.
You know, owls got to eat too.
Yeah, but he ain't got to eat chickens. That dude invaded my chicken pen. I ain't got the video handy nowhere, but I was going to show you the video.
Y'all
Did
go
you see
check.
that?
Y'all go check out Duke's timeline or whatever. I think he has a picture and video of handling a raptor. Look, good looking owl. Is that a barn owl?
I don't know what kind of owl it was, but he was hungry. Ain't no doubt about it.
I know
He
you
done killed.
disrupted his dadgum chicken dinner.
He killed 2 chickens and was. If I hadn't have got out there sooner, I mean, he'd have done been on the 3rd one.
Yeah, you know, it was a big owl. He was hungry.
Oh, he was big. I
Speak.
took him. I took him over to the Cypress district.
Yeah, there you go. He
Let
can
him
keep an
find
eye
some-
on them. Yeah. Speaking of being
Yeah.
hungry, I'm going to get supper.
All right. Good night, guys.
All right, see you later. Appreciate everybody watching.